You did not stop here by accident, and something inside you already knows that, because if this moment were random, your attention would have slipped away like it usually does. Yet here you are, still reading, still present, still feeling that quiet pull in your chest that told you not to scroll, not to leave, not to dismiss this as coincidence, because the truth is that something has been trying to reach you for a long time, and today it finally succeeded. There is a presence close to you now, calm but powerful, protective yet firm, and its voice does not shout or threaten. It simply speaks with certainty, saying that if you had turned away just now, this connection would have closed, not as punishment, but because this moment required your consent. What is moving toward you cannot force its way into your life. You had to choose to stay, and you did. As you continue reading, you may notice your breathing slow slightly, or your thoughts quiet in a way that feels unfamiliar. That is not imagination, that is alignment. There is a reason the world seems to pause when certain messages reach us. This is one of those moments. You were meant to hear this before something unfolded, not after. A path was forming ahead of you that carried unnecessary pain, and intervention became necessary, not because you are weak, but because your sensitivity makes you powerful, and powerful people feel consequences more deeply when they move in the wrong direction. You may have sensed it recently without knowing why. A delay that did not feel like delay. A silence that felt louder than noise. A strange inner hesitation that appeared right when you were about to say yes, go forward, or repeat an old pattern. That was not fear. That was guidance stepping in quietly. The reason it felt uncomfortable is because it interrupted momentum, and momentum is addictive, even when it leads somewhere harmful. You were being slowed down on purpose. Right now, you are standing between two timelines. One continues the cycle you have already outgrown, and the other carries a version of your life that has been waiting patiently for you to arrive. Nothing dramatic had to happen for the shift to begin. All that was required was awareness, and that is what this moment is activating. Something that slipped away from you in the past was never truly lost. It was delayed, protected, rerouted. What interfered before was not failure. It was interference from people, environments, or obligations that did not respect your energy or your future. There is also something else you need to understand. And this part may feel uncomfortable at first because it confirms what you have already felt but tried to dismiss. Someone close to you, or once close to you, was drawing from your energy while presenting themselves as support. You noticed the exhaustion afterward, the unexplained heaviness, the emotional drop that followed interactions that were supposed to feel safe. You told yourself you were overthinking. You were not. Awareness has now broken that connection. You are not in danger. You are no longer exposed in the same way. Your clarity is returning because your energy is no longer leaking. You might feel lighter as you read this, or strangely emotional without knowing why. That is your nervous system releasing something it has been holding for too long. The confusion you experienced recently was not a sign that you were lost. It was a sign that an old version of you was dissolving. When identities shift, the mind scrambles briefly because familiar reference points disappear. That phase is ending now. What is coming toward you does not arrive loudly. It arrives naturally. A message, an opening, a reconnection, an opportunity that fits so cleanly it feels almost effortless compared to what you are used to. You will recognize it because it will not require you to shrink, chase, or betray your intuition. It will meet you where you are, instead of demanding that you become someone else to earn it. The delays you resented were not obstacles. They were shields. You were being redirected away from choices that would have compromised your peace long-term. Losses that confused you were edits, not punishments. Certain people were removed not because you failed them, but because they were never meant to walk with you beyond a certain point. They served a role, and that role ended. You have been stronger than you give yourself credit for, carrying emotional weight quietly, showing up even when hope felt thin, continuing without reassurance. That endurance was noticed. Not by the world, but by something deeper that measures resilience rather than appearances. What you are stepping into now requires the strength you developed during the waiting. You may soon notice small but meaningful shifts, thoughts becoming clearer, decisions feeling simpler, emotional reactions softening. These are signs that your internal environment is stabilizing at a higher level. When clarity returns, life responds quickly. That is why it was important for this message to reach you before the next step appears. You are not behind. You are precisely on time. The chapter you are entering was written long before the struggle that shaped you. This is not the middle of your story. This is the turn where momentum finally changes direction. What once drained you will lose its influence. What once confused you will make sense. What once felt heavy will lift without effort. Stay present a little longer. Let this settle. You do not need to do anything dramatic. Awareness alone shifts timelines. Trust the calm that is replacing urgency. Trust the quiet confidence that is beginning to rise. Something is aligning in your favor now, and you will understand why you had to arrive here to receive it. And as you remain here, still reading, still present, something subtle continues to shift inside you, because moments like this are not meant to rush. They are meant to unfold slowly, layer by layer, allowing understanding to sink deeper than thought, deeper than logic, into the place where you already know the truth without needing proof. There is a reason your attention has not wandered, even now. The part of you that learned to stay alert during uncertainty has recognized safety here, and safety allows awareness to open fully. You may notice that memories are surfacing as you read, moments from the past that suddenly feel connected in a way they never did before. Events that once seemed random now appear arranged, as if they were steps rather than interruptions. That is because you are beginning to see your life from a higher vantage point. Patterns reveal themselves only when you stop standing inside them and look back from a distance. What you once called confusion was actually transition. What you called loss was repositioning. What you called delay was refinement. There were times you almost walked away from your own path without realizing it. Times when exhaustion made you question your instincts. When disappointment tempted you to settle for less simply to feel relief. That was the moment protection intervened. Not loudly, not forcefully, but gently enough that you could still choose. Choice matters. It always has. That is why you are here now. Because when it mattered most, you paused. The energy around you now is steady, not rushed, not anxious. It does not demand belief. It invites awareness. And awareness changes everything. You are no longer moving unconsciously. You are no longer reacting. You are observing. From this state, mistakes lose their grip. Old cycles cannot repeat when they are fully seen. There is something important about to enter your awareness, and it may arrive as insight rather than event. A realization about a relationship, a direction, or a version of yourself you have outgrown. When it comes, it will feel both surprising and obvious. You may wonder how you did not see it sooner. That is not failure. That is timing. Certain truths only reveal themselves when you are strong enough to carry them without breaking your own heart. You have been preparing for this without knowing it. Every boundary you struggled to hold. Every time you chose silence instead of reaction. Every night you questioned yourself and still chose to continue. These moments were not small. They were building something stable inside you. Stability attracts alignment. Alignment attracts opportunity. What is ahead does not resemble what you left behind. That is intentional. You are not meant to repeat the same story with different faces. You are meant to move forward with different standards. The universe responds quickly when standards change, because clarity removes confusion from the equation. You may soon feel a renewed sense of calm confidence. Not excitement, not anxiety, but a quiet knowing that something is working out even if you cannot yet see how. That feeling is accurate. Movement has already begun. Some things are being removed without your effort. Other things are being positioned without your involvement. This is what alignment feels like when it is real. You are allowed to release the weight you have been carrying. It was never meant to stay with you this long. Responsibility without clarity becomes burden. Clarity has returned now. You do not need to force the next step. You only need to recognize it when it appears. Stay attentive. Stay grounded. Do not rush the unfolding. You are not late. You are not lost. You are not forgotten. You are arriving. And as this message continues to settle into you, notice how your body responds. The softening, the steadiness, the sense that you can breathe more deeply now. These are not coincidences, they are confirmations. What comes next will make sense when it arrives. Until then, remain present. This moment mattered more than you realized. And as this awareness deepens, you may begin to understand why so many things in your life felt unfinished, unresolved, or suspended in midair. It was not because you failed to act fast enough or tried hard enough. It was because resolution requires readiness, and readiness is not something the mind can force. It happens when the inner and outer worlds finally agree. That agreement is forming now. You were protected from answers before you were ready to live with them. Some truths would have hurt you earlier, not because they were cruel, but because you were still attached to versions of people, dreams, or outcomes that no longer matched who you were becoming. Letting go before understanding feels like loss. Letting go after understanding feels like relief. You are entering the second phase now. There is a quiet recalibration happening within you. Your tolerance for confusion is lowering. Your patience for emotional imbalance is thinning. Your intuition is becoming less dramatic and more precise. This is growth that does not announce itself. It simply changes what you allow. And what you allow determines what can stay. You may notice that situations which once triggered anxiety now feel distant, almost irrelevant. That is because your nervous system is learning that it no longer needs to stay on guard. You are not in survival mode anymore. You are transitioning into alignment mode, where choices are guided by clarity instead of fear. Something you once chased is going to meet you halfway. Not because you waited long enough, but because you finally stopped chasing. Energy responds to presence more than effort. When you stop running toward outcomes, outcomes begin to move toward you. You may soon receive information that recontextualizes your past. A conversation, a realization, a detail that clicks into place and explains why certain doors never opened when you begged them to. You will see that those doors led to rooms that would have dimmed you, not expanded you. Gratitude often comes late, but when it arrives, it is profound. Your inner voice will grow clearer from here. Less emotional noise, fewer second guesses, more direct knowing. You will feel when something is right without needing justification. You will feel when something is wrong without needing evidence. This is not impulsiveness. This is attunement. Do not rush to explain your growth to anyone. Some people can only understand you when you remain familiar. Growth breaks familiarity. Silence preserves peace. You do not owe clarity to those who benefited from your confusion. You are entering a phase where your energy becomes selective. Not closed, not guarded, but intentional. You will notice that you no longer feel drawn to chaos, urgency, or emotional intensity disguised as passion. What excites you now is steadiness, respect, mutual presence, and ease. This is not settling. This is maturity. What is unfolding will not require you to betray yourself. That is how you will know it is real. It will feel natural to show up as you are, without performance, without shrinking, without proving. You will not need to convince. You will simply recognize. As you move forward from this moment, trust the calm. Trust the quiet certainty. Trust the fact that you stayed when you could have left. That choice mattered, more than you know. This is not the end of the message. It is the continuation of a shift already in motion. Stay open. Stay aware. Stay aligned. And as you stay with this moment a little longer, something even deeper begins to settle. Something that does not live in words, but in recognition. You may feel as if you are being gently reminded of who you were before the world taught you to doubt your instincts, before experiences trained you to second-guess your inner knowing. That version of you was never lost. It simply waited patiently beneath layers of adaptation and survival. You have carried more responsibility than was ever meant to be yours. Emotional weight that belonged to others. Expectations that were placed on you without permission. Guilt for things that were never your fault. Over time, this weight became familiar, and familiarity can disguise itself as identity. But what is familiar is not always what is true. The truth is lighter than what you have been carrying, and you are beginning to feel that lightness return. There were moments when you felt disconnected from people you once felt close to, and you wondered if something was wrong with you. There was nothing wrong. Alignment creates distance from what no longer resonates. Growth does not always look like expansion at first. Sometimes it looks like separation. That separation is not punishment, it is refinement. You are no longer meant to explain yourself endlessly. The need to be understood by everyone is dissolving. In its place is a quiet self-trust that does not require validation. When you trust yourself, the world adjusts accordingly. Opportunities align with clarity. Connections respond to authenticity. Resistance fades when you stop arguing with your own intuition. Pay attention to how your desires are changing. What you want now is not louder, bigger, or more intense. It is clearer. You are drawn to what feels clean, stable, and honest. You crave depth without chaos, growth without exhaustion, connection without confusion. This is not because you are afraid of intensity. It is because you have mastered it, and now you are ready for something healthier. You may notice that your reactions are slower, more thoughtful. That pause is powerful. It is the space where wisdom lives. In that space, you choose instead of react. You respond instead of repeat. You move forward instead of cycling back. Something you feared losing was never meant to define you. Something you feared stepping into was always meant to find you. The fear was simply the threshold. You have crossed it now by staying present, by listening, by allowing understanding instead of resistance. From here, your path becomes simpler. Not because life becomes effortless, but because you stop carrying what was never yours. You stop negotiating with doubt. You stop explaining your worth. You stop chasing clarity and start embodying it. Let this moment mark a shift. Not a dramatic declaration, not a public change, but an internal decision to trust what you feel when things are quiet. That is where your guidance speaks most clearly. Remain open. Remain grounded. You are not waiting anymore. You are moving, even when it looks still. And this movement, gentle as it is, will change everything. And as this movement continues beneath the surface, you may begin to sense a different relationship with time itself. What once felt rushed now feels measured. What once felt delayed now feels deliberate. You are no longer racing toward a future to escape the present. You are allowing the present to shape the future naturally. This shift is subtle, but it changes how everything unfolds. There were periods in your life when you tried to hold everything together through effort alone. You carried responsibility with strength, even when it cost you rest, clarity, and joy. You told yourself that endurance was the same as progress. It isn't. Endurance keeps you going. Alignment carries you forward. You are moving out of endurance now. You may notice that certain worries no longer hook into you the way they once did. Thoughts arise, but they pass instead of spiraling. This is not avoidance. It is perspective. You are learning which thoughts deserve your attention and which ones were simply echoes of old fear. Discernment is replacing anxiety. You are also becoming more honest with yourself. Not harshly honest, but gently precise. You can now admit when something no longer feels right without immediately trying to fix it or justify it. This honesty is a form of self-respect, and self-respect quietly reorganizes your life. Some connections will naturally fade as you continue forward, not because of conflict, but because of divergence. You are no longer walking toward the same destinations. This does not diminish what was shared. It simply acknowledges what is true now. Release does not erase meaning. It honors timing. You are also being invited to trust what feels calm instead of what feels intense. Intensity once felt like proof. Calm now feels like truth. This does not mean your life will lack passion. It means your passion will no longer cost you your peace. That is a significant upgrade. You may soon notice that your intuition speaks more softly than before, yet with greater accuracy. It does not demand attention. It waits for it. When you listen, guidance arrives without confusion. When you act, resistance lessens. This is how alignment confirms itself. There is a strength forming in you that does not rely on control. It relies on clarity. Control tightens. Clarity opens. From openness, the right responses emerge naturally. You will find yourself making decisions that once felt difficult with surprising ease. What you are stepping into does not require a dramatic leap. It requires consistency. Small, aligned choices compound quietly until the external world reflects the internal shift. This process has already begun. You are not being tested now. You are being supported. Support does not always look like comfort. Sometimes it looks like truth arriving at the right moment. This moment is one of those arrivals. Continue to stay present. Continue to trust what feels steady. You are no longer preparing for change. You are living inside it. And as this realization settles, allow yourself to rest in it. You do not need to figure out the entire path. The next step will reveal itself when you are ready to take it. You are ready.